Wagwan, 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 what is going on? Today I'm just going to be kind of raw yapping, giving a little bit of a rundown of my journey, how I went from growing up in a small town in WA, being a bit of a bonghead, into drugs, partying, not really going anywhere, a bit stuck in a rut to, living in a whole new city. I make around 30K a month from my phone, from my laptop. I've learnt these online skills, which has pretty much changed the whole trajectory of my life. And I now feel like I have a lot of freedom. I can travel when I want, where I want. I don't have to answer to a boss. It's been a journey getting here. I've obviously worked a lot of jobs. I've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations, I guess you could say, but I'm about to sort of go through my journey, and I help people do the exact same as me now. And if you can get some wisdom or some advice from me, then that's mint. So I guess like taking it way back, I grew up in a small coastal town in WA and it was sick, had a good group of friends, really fun, like loved it to be honest, but I got stuck in a bit of a rut where I was doing drugs a lot, partying a lot. I was addicted to weed at one point, and I didn't really have any ambitions. I didn't really have any drive to do anything or go anywhere, and I felt like I had some level of intelligence. I always cruised through school. I was a bit of a reckless kid in school, suspended a few times, but I always cruised through it. I was always one of those kids that did pretty well, and the teachers were pissed off at me because I wouldn't study, I wouldn't do homework, but as soon as there was like a test or exams, I'd kind of crush that shit. So I knew I had some level of intelligence, and at one point after graduating, I was like, look, I need to fully remove myself from the situation. Just if I want to live like a slightly bigger and better life, remove myself from my current situation, and surround myself with people which I wouldn't usually surround myself with. So I essentially packed up everything, left my big group of mates, who I really loved and respected, and I would have been about 19, 20 at this time, so we're in our prime, and it was the hardest thing ever moving to the other side of Australia, and I was sleeping behind a couch in a blow up mattress for a few months. I had no friends. I was very socially anxious at the time. I didn't realize how socially anxious I was until I fully moved to a new city, and I realized that I wasn't good at talking to strangers. I wasn't good at communicating, and being isolated from my friends, and not having any friends, and not being social during the day because I was over in a whole new city, not knowing anyone. It actually took me down a more socially anxious route where I forgot how to socialize. I forgot how to, yeah, just be a confident person, and I would wig out walking through shopping centers. I would have to psych myself up to go and buy groceries or to go buy something or go to the post office, and yeah, I was just a super socially anxious person, and I hated who I was, and I was looking at videos on Snapchat or social media of all my homies back in WA just living it up, going camping, fishing, surfing every weekend, and I was sitting there on this blow up mattress going, what am I doing? I'm wasting my prime years. I'm anxious. I can't talk to anyone. I've got no friends, and I've been here for a few months. The only comfort I was getting was just like being in warmer weather, better waves. I had my brother here, and he was essentially my only friend. But I sort of gave it some time, and I started uni over here. So started a Bachelor of Health Science. So that was at a private uni over here. I was pretty nervous, and I didn't really know what I was in for, but I was really passionate about nutrition and exercise, and I knew that I wanted to study my master's in nutrition eventually. So at this uni, I needed to do my Bachelor of Health Science, and that could then get me into my master's of nutrition after that. So yeah, pretty much just started, threw myself in the deep end, and I was an anxious little kid, still like 19, 20, and it was I don't know, it was cruisy at first. Like, it was just regular uni, small classes. Started making some friends, and it was good to get myself out of the house and get myself socializing again. And I soon met a few homies, I met a few friends. They weren't probably the people that I gel with off the rip, but it was kind of the only homies that I had. So I got along with them well. Yeah, fell back into like a bit of a party culture, uni, standard practice. But I realized a few months in when studying health science that it wasn't for me. I'm very English orientated as far as my brain goes. I hate maths, can't do maths, and health science was full of chemistry units, and I was like, fuck this, I cannot do this. So I did a complete 180 essentially, switched into a Bachelor of Communications where I majored in social media and creative writing. So I've always been good at writing creatively, writing stories, fiction, and shit like that. So it was quite an easy degree. As I said, I kind of had the natural intelligence to kind of breeze through that, and communications it wasn't that intensive. It was still a full university degree, but I kind of knew after finishing that, was quite confident in myself because I essentially cruised by. I got this degree. I was still partying, doing drugs, drinking a fair bit, and I managed to get this degree pretty easily. So at this time, I was working at Coles. I was working at a supermarket cleaning toilets. So I was a cleaner. I was waking up at 4 a.m. Starting at 4 a.m. super early before my classes, going in there, essentially cleaning the shop floor, cleaning the toilets, and then knocking off, and that's what I was doing. So my first job over here was essentially a cleaner, like scrubbing shit out of people's toilets. So it was, yeah, it was, I made it fun, so it wasn't that bad. So basically changing into a Bachelor of Communication, I still had no clue what the fuck I wanted to do. I think that's a very important point to this story. I had no idea. I was really just hoping that going into this degree, I would stumble across a unit, or maybe I'd be doing a project and I really gelled with it, and I'd go, damn, that's kind of what I could see myself doing, whether it was the journalism side of things, the public relations side of things, the creative writing side of things, or the social media side of things. I was just hoping. I studied and had so many projects and so many different units across the board that I was hoping that one would click with me and I'd be like, shit, yeah, that's something that I want to do. Basically finished that degree, still not knowing what the fuck I wanted to do. I quite liked writing, I quite liked journalism, but I knew the money in it was going to be chat, and I just, I didn't like the politics in journalism. I just thought it was a little bit toxic. Regardless, finished my degree not knowing what the fuck I wanted to do. I was looking on Seek and Indeed every day, looking for like public relations jobs or kind of social media orientated jobs in marketing or advertisement. Still just like this, just had no spark. I did not know what the fuck I wanted to do. I was like, damn, this is kind of heinous. At the time of me finishing my degree, I'm also just working labor jobs and just jobs on the side to get by. Yeah, just like a labor worker, delivering mattresses. Pretty fun jobs, working with the homies. No qualms there at all. That was actually really fucking sick. And then I started working in retail, so a big electronics store here in Australia. I started working there, and that was really, really fun. But that's when I got my first taste of sales, and I was really gun at that. I actually came in and started sort of not breaking records, but being like a high achiever as far as making sales go. And I really fucked with that. But I just still knew that this wasn't for me. I was making probably the best money that I had been as far as casual work goes at this retail shop. And I just still knew it wasn't for me. I really wanted something more, and that's when I kind of just started really aggressively looking into working online. So if you were to ask me what my dream would be around that time, I would just say I don't care what it is, as long as I can work from my phone and my laptop from anywhere in the world. That's what I would tell people. That's what intrinsically would be my answer to that question. And so I just started looking. I just started going nuts and doing the same hamster wheel that everyone kind of does when they get into this need to make money online mindset, where it's, they start on Google and YouTube searching up like best remote paying jobs that you can get 2024, 2025 or whatever. I went through everything: drop shipping, copywriting, SMMA, all that shit. I dropped $700 on a drop shipping course, like mentorship type thing. Lost that. It was obviously super scammy, an empty PDF essentially. Put in hours just trying to like figure out a side hustle essentially that would just allow me to start making money on the side, and I could build up into something substantial. Had absolutely no luck whatsoever, and then I had a good friend of mine who was actually making good money online, and he was absolutely crushing it. And at first I was just like, fuck, there's just another online side hustle type thing. But after chatting to him and essentially realizing how important it is to learn a skill, not just one of these fad words: dropshipping, copywriting, SMMA, because that's essentially what I got hooked on. Just these buzzwords that you see floating around. And at the time where the online guru space was starting to pop on TikTok and Instagram, and people would be like, fuck, best dropshipping products 2023, or this is why you need to learn copywriting, and this is how I became a million, whatever. I realized the effectiveness of learning a skill, not just learning one of these fucking buzzwords and type things. So I essentially got chatting with the homie, realized that sales and marketing were essentially the two big heavy hitters that not only could I leverage to help me make money online, but that I could take in any sort of business endeavor for the rest of my life. So yeah, I essentially invested in mentors to teach me up in these skills, and I had my sights set on becoming a remote closer. And if you're not familiar what a remote closer is, essentially when you learn the skills good enough to become a remote closer, a client, a company, or an organization will employ you to essentially close deals for them. So say for example, a big fitness guru influencer, hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram, is selling like a 12-week fitness program, all inclusive type thing. They're going to have a ton of people reach out to them, curious to invest in this fitness program and get shredded as fuck. And this fitness influencer will essentially like reach out to me as a qualified remote closer. They'll get me on board, and basically those people that reach out to that fitness influencer, I'll jump on a call with them, run through a bit of a sales process, pretty much make sure they're the right fit, make sure they're qualified, make sure they're ready to go. And if they want to invest and they want to buy this course, then they're onboarded there and then on the call, and that deal is then closed and I make commission. So that's essentially what a remote closer is. And I thought, fuck, how good is that? When I realized that type of occupation, I was like, get me on a beach, get me in a hammock somewhere, get me just closing deals for some client or company. I don't care who it is. I'm going to learn the ins and outs of that offer, what that client's offering or what that organization does. And I'll become like a gun salesman, and I'll just close deals, take a few calls a day from anywhere I want, as long as I have my laptop and Wi-Fi. Bang, sorted. That's my dream job. And so I essentially through this mentorship, I started learning these skills to become a remote closer. At this point in time, I was also learning skills to become an appointment setter. So an appointment setter is kind of like a precursor to a remote closer. That's when that fitness influencer, for example, that I was just telling you about, has a ton of people reaching out to him in his Instagram DMs, for example. As an appointment setter, he then employs you to jump on his DMs, logged in as him, and you're essentially just messaging those leads, those prospects, those people that come in interested in his program. And you essentially do the same thing as that remote closer does, but just through messages. So you figure out if they're the right fit, figure out if they're qualified, just have a little conversation with them, and your main role is to essentially book them in for a call with that remote closer. If you book them in and you're the middleman for connecting that lead to the salesperson, and that salesperson then closes that deal down the line, you make commission. All you need to do is just send a few messages. That's essentially what an appointment setter is. And when you strip it back like that, it's a pretty unreal way to make some extra money during the week. So, through the mentorship, I'm also learning the skills to become an appointment setter. And I learned that shit pretty quickly. Appointment setting is, once you understand the basics, once you get taught the right skills by the right people, you can pick that shit up pretty fucking quickly. And I did. And I started making money within a few weeks. Not crazy money, a couple $100, but so at this stage, I realized that the marketing side of things, accompanied with sales, is where the big money is. So me being able to build a personal brand, promote products, whether it be affiliate marketing or my own offers or anything like that, on a personal brand that I've built myself, plus knowing the sales skills, that's when eventually I'll come across the good money. At this point in time, I'm still working in retail, and I'm just, grinding after work or before work or on my days off. I'm attending the training calls, my one-on-one mentorship calls where I'm getting, assisted and taught these skills, and I'm learning shit real quickly. And eventually got to the point where I actually kind of got fired from my retail job because I was constantly on my phone at work. You weren't allowed to. It was super strict. But yeah, I essentially had a customer complain that I was on my phone because I was on my phone actually appointment setting, like making money. And it kind of got brought up to the big bosses. And it was sort of like, they could tell I was checked out of this retail job because I was earning more money on my phone at this point in time than I was, standing in an air-conditioned shop for 8 hours a day. And the big boss kind of came to me and was like, look, mate, I'll put my neck out for you and you can start again on Monday. But if I don't hear from you, you're kind of just implying that you're kind of keen to move on. And I honestly had a big weekend getting on the piss, and I fully forgot to reply to him. And then it came to Monday, checked my roster, and I'd just been taken off. So I essentially had the boats burnt for me, but it was the best thing that ever happened because, ever since that Monday that I woke up and I realized that, holy shit, this is my life right now. Like, this is how I'm going to pay rent for, the foreseeable future. I had to do everything that I could to scale up and start making more money and make this shit work. That's exactly what I did. I doubled down. I started going hard building my personal brand. I started making more money appointment setting. I eventually got a role remote closing where my commissions went up to 5 to 10%. And I think it was about the 2.5 to 3 months in, I hit my first 3K week. So 3K AUD, and that was fucking pretty crazy. That's when I sat back and went, damn, okay, like I'm actually making good money right now. It wasn't long after that I hit my first 10K month, which was a good milestone, and sort of scaled up from there. And I think it was about 7, 8 months in, I hit probably my best month, which was about 30,000 in 1 month, which is pretty sick. Now I've kind of, stabilized to a point where I have a really good work-life balance. My goal is to hit the 100K months. That's something that I eventually want to do. I've made good money while being overseas, and the craziest thing is just sort of been landing in these airports, like Qatar Airport, for example, or Dubai Airport, and having like a few grand hit my account just as I'm touching down, and essentially has just like paid off the whole trip as before I've even gotten off a plane. And that shit has always still felt trippy to me whenever that happens. But that's kind of like a little bit of a story of where I started to where I'm at now. And we have a lot of growing to do, and we have, a lot of, like, I really want to put my head back down and hit these 100K months. I'm really passionate about having a good work-life balance. I do what I do, and I help people get into the position that I'm in so that they can have more freedom to spend time with their friends and their family and do the shit that they actually love. The last 2 years has been like a proper roller coaster, going from essentially scrubbing toilets to uh, doing whatever the fuck I want, essentially. Basically, if like a kid like me can do it, I'm not anything special. As I said, I still party. I'm still a bit of a degenerate. At times, it takes effort, but for the most part, it just takes a set of nuts, and it just takes some confidence in yourself to have faith that you can actually do it. And if you apply yourself and give it a red hot crack, the chances are you will become successful at this shit. Because I've met some absolute squids, no offense, some absolute mung beans that have become super successful at this shit and made a lot of money, like triple what I'm making. And that's just the reality of it. But the only difference between them and you is that they had the balls to have a crack and stay at it and believe in themselves. So if you did want to sort of learn a little bit more about like the remote skills or anything like that, I've obviously got a shitload of videos on YouTube explaining them. Or if you're really, really curious and want to book a call with my team, the same mentorship, the same academy that I went through to learn these skills and get into this position, then there's a link down below. But yeah, that's pretty much all from me today. So stay in school, drink heaps of milk, and get after it, brother.